Hello and welcome to the University of Dutch. I am your co-host JP John Paz, the doctor, and of course, joining me is the star of the show, the greatest and smartest man ever in the history of the business, the dirty one himself, Dirty Dutch Mantel. Dutch, also sorry, we're running a few minutes behind today.
Well, I want you to take the heat for it because I told everybody when I put it on my Facebook page that we would start straight up at 8. What time is it right now?
8:08.
Oh, okay. We're a little bit. They should be used to that by now. But so we're going to be talking about this TNA pay-per-view, and then we're going to take some questions. And we're not going to take all day to talk about this pay-per-view, but I have some notes written down. So if anybody wants to go back and review this TNA, it's 2006 or 2005?
2006.
2006 lockdown, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, didn't we just do a lockdown not too long ago, 2005?
Yep. Last week,
And then
2005.
it became a regular, right?
Yep.
Lockdown was always in the cage.
Yep.
Oh, brutal trying to book it. So,
Really?
and this happened when? This was, let's go back into
April 23rd.
18 what? What'd you say? 18 what? 67?
April 23rd, 2006.
No, it's not here. Okay, so I re-scanned. I don't really watch it in its 3-hour entirety because that's really, I think, almost torturous. You know, I've told you about the people who were sentenced to death for some hideous crime.
Yep.
You know, instead of the electric chair or they don't do hanging anymore. They are bringing shootings back, firing squads. You know that?
No, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, bringing that back. I read. Would you read it? Well, I wrote it down, and I read it back to myself. So I read it somewhere. No, but a lot of people say that's cruel and inhuman punishment, and they don't want to do that. And I've told you this before. If you just put them in the chair and tie one arm down and 2 legs, and then put a cyanide pill on the shelf within arm's distance, and after they start watching this pay-per-view, about the 3rd match, they'll reach over, they'll take that cyanide pill. I just can't take it anymore. Pop it in, they're gone. Thus, releasing the state from any charges of cruel and inhuman punishment. They committed suicide. So, and I thought that had a lot of merit to it when I first got to. Excuse my voice. But I've been a little ill this past week. So, but let's jump in this first match right here. It was Team Japan, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. I don't know Team Japan from Team Bulgaria. It was Black Tiger, whoever, Minoru Tanaka. I might know him, and Haruki Goto. Now, Goto, is he the one who liked TNA?
Liked it? I don't know about that. He's still wrestling for New Japan today.
Who's the one? Yeah, but who books it? Isn't he the booker somewhere, or is that another Goto?
You're thinking of Ghetto. Ghetto is the booker.
All right. All right, anyway, they defeated Team USA with Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Alex Shelley in the 6 sides of steel match. Now, Lockdown, let me just reiterate this. It started as a joke and then became a regular pay-per-view, a name of a pay-per-view every year.
Yep.
It's 6 sides of steel. So therefore, if I didn't like it in 2005, what would miraculously make me like it in 2006? And I would have to say nothing, because nothing changed. It's just 6 sides of steel. But every year they had one with just different matches. And Senshi defeated Christopher Daniels. What was Senshi's name before?
Loki. What did you think about Loki?
Absolutely. A lot of respect for Loki. Very, very serious worker. Almost to the point of being almost too serious, really. But him and Christopher Daniels, they had a great match, and Senshi ended up beating him.
Why didn't you think Senshi, aka Loki, went further? How come he didn't go further in the business?
This is what I think. And a lot of people don't really associate this with wrestling. He wasn't political. A lot of guys are great, but they don't know how to politicize their worth or their being or their product themselves. They don't know how to really get the word out about it. And it's who you know, who you talk to, who you buddy up with. So, excuse me. That's not a new occurrence. That happens and wrestling is no different than regular jobs. Sometimes if you can do the job and people like you, more or less, you will get that job. But if you can do the job and the people don't like you, they're going to go with somebody they like. And that's why I think Loki didn't go further. Plus, he didn't hold back the way he felt when he spoke. If he didn't like it, he'd tell you. He would tell you he thought it sucked. But I will say one thing. When he said he thought it sucked, there was a reason for it. And I didn't try to talk him out of it. It was his opinion. So.
Did you guys get along? You too?
Oh, yeah. We got along fine. But, see, I understood where he was coming from. See, but nobody tried to, since we had a committee of like at least 3 or 4, sometimes we had a committee of 6. So it's who talks to who, when, where, and in what vein. So that's where the disconnect sometimes comes in. And I got a little bit to say about this next match. It was an arm wrestling match with B.G. James and Kip James, the formerly named the New Age Outlaws, and against Conan, Homicide, and Hernandez, the Latin American Express. But it wasn't a match. It was an arm wrestling match.
Yep.
And anybody that's followed, BG knows Bullet Bob. And Bullet Bob was a weight trainer years before it really became popular. And Armstrong, because he had massive arms at one time. He had like 22-inch arms. So, and of course he beat Conan in the arm wrestling contest, and I think they had a brief flurry or something. Nothing really important. But what I want to talk about this time, Conan, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but Conan was limping around with a bad hip. And he and TNA were at odds over, he needed surgery. And to my understanding, Conan was blaming TNA for his injury on his hip. And TNA were saying, well, we're not the reason that your hip is in the shape it's in. You work for 10 other promoters or 10 other companies, including WCW and Mexico. And so we don't think we're the company that it should fall to just because it's the last company you worked. Well, he didn't want to pay for it, and I don't know if he had insurance or not. Apparently he didn't. So he sued TNA for his hip surgery. And I'm okay with that until I found out that not only did he sue TNA, but he sued people individually. He sued Dixie Carter, and he sued Jeff Jarrett, and he sued Terry Taylor, who was, the talent relations guy in TNA at the time. And he ended up suing me. And I'm thinking,
for what?
how in the hell how in the F do I fit into this? I didn't hurt your hip. I didn't tell you to. But anyway, it went over and over and over. And what he was doing, he was just trying to find some way to hang TNA, that they were responsible for it. And I don't know the outcome of it. It was eventually dropped. And I don't know the outcome of the lawsuits. But all of a sudden it was gone one day. So, and I didn't have to sign any NDAs or anything about that. So I don't think. But usually an NDA is only good for 3 years anyway. So if I did, I don't care. It's been almost 20 years ago. But they ended up not working for him anymore. And it was a big to-do over nothing. And it's not that I didn't like Conan, because after the suit, he said one day, I think he called me up and went, "Yo, Dutch." I went, "What do you want?" He went, "Hey, man, I just want to tell you, you know, that lawsuit, it wasn't nothing personal and all, and blah, blah, blah." And I said, and then he said, "I just want to say, sorry I had to bring you into it, but I had to, man." And I said, "Well, it is what it is." Click, hung up. No need talking to him. He did what he did, and I'm not mad at him. And I guess he may have done what he had to do. But anyway, that's good. I just want to talk about it. I've never made that public before, and I never air public grievances or private grievances public. I never make them public. But I did there. So you got a little touch of some inside stuff that you didn't know before, maybe. Okay. And here's a sixth man, I think. Chris Sabin. He defeated Eli Skipper, and Pete Williams, Chase Stevens, Shark Boy, and Puma in an escape match. What do you think about that match, John?
It's okay. Escape the cage, though. I don't know. I don't know. It kind of just doesn't work for me as far as like, okay, lockdown. You're supposed to be locked down, trying to keep everybody in a cage, and then the X Division guys are trying to escape the cage. I don't know. Never a real big fan of escaping the cage.
Me either. And Samoa Joe defeated Sabu. Now I will say this: they had a good match. They actually had a great match. And Sabu, I mean, he can't go now like he used to, but Sabu used to be able to go, and he would do some things. And I would think, how in the hell can this guy do this? I mean, I looked at him in amazement sometimes, saying, "Damn, I don't know how old is Sabu?"
Now he's got to be 50, I would say.
No, I think he's older than that.
Let's check. How was your relationship with him, though? Was he okay backstage?
Sabu was fine. See, I never let.
57.
If you're in this, see, I knew he was older than that.
Yeah.
So, but for him to be taking those bumps at 40, maybe 42, because he's not a big guy, and even a big guy, he would have probably broken. He would have broken down before he did. Probably him being the smaller guy let him go farther. But they had a great match, and Samoa Joe beat him. And it wasn't a long match; it was only like 7 minutes, but it was good for what it was. Team 3D. Then the next match, Devon and Brother Runt defeated Team Canada, Bobby Roode and Eric Young, and AJ. 6 Sides of Steel. They had a good match, pretty good. AJ didn't have bad matches. Okay, and let me look at my deal here.
Was Christian defeated Abyss, your boy Abyss?
That was next. I was going up on that. Yep.
How come the world title match, the NWA world title match, isn't the main event?
Now, why are you asking me that?
Because you should know.
I don't have. I don't have an answer.
Would you have preferred it to be the main event, Christian and Abyss for the NWA World Title?
Well, I think Lethal Lockdown with Jarrett and Steiner and Storm and Harris and Sting and AJ and Killings and Rhino. I guess by the sheer number of the participants in it, they thought that would overshadow Abyss and AJ.
Abyss and Christian. Abyss and Christian.
Abyss and Christian. That's right. Which I don't even think they did that, but anyway, you can tell a lot of thought went into this pay-per-view. But, when you look at a pay-per-view, if I didn't like 2005, every match in the cage, this changes nothing. You just change the faces. And I don't think it helped it. Who I did think that had a really easy run here was Sting in his TNA years. I don't know what he was making, but I think he was making. And let me just throw this. I don't know what he was making, but I think he was making upwards of $300,000 a year for maybe. I'm trying to think. For probably less than 100 days a year of work, 100 days. So if you go pay-per-views once a month and then 4 shows, that's 5 a month. 5 times 12 is 60. So he may have been less than, 70. So anyway, I may have figured that wrong. But he made a good payday for that. So, and but the Christian and Abyss match was good because of Abyss. This guy who wrote this, he had some comments on it, but a lot of tax in it, and which is something I never liked. I never liked the tax. I don't know if it showed how tough guys were or how stupid they were. Now, let me ask you, John, you were a wrestler, and if you said, okay, for you to make it, you got to go out there and jump up in the air and land flat back on your back on those tacks, what would you say?
I would say I thought the business was about making it look real, not really hurting myself out there. What the hell is this all about?
Yeah, what is it? And when somebody said, "Oh, when you spread them out," may have talked about this last week, but when you spread them out, it hurts less. No, it doesn't. How can it hurt less? I mean, you just got more places to hurt, and it may be like a solid sting on your back. And when did tax come into play anyway? ECW?
Seems like FMW, Japan, ECW. That seems about the time frame. Yeah.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
That was an Abyss staple. Your boy Abyss. He used to do it all the time.
Well, he loved it. I think he seriously liked pain.
Really?
Because, but see, I put him over every pay-per-view that we've done. And he was really underappreciated, I think, because he was like the Mr. Go-To guy. So if you wanted a good match that you can get 12 minutes, 15 minutes, and you didn't have to direct him too much, he more or less was a self-starter. And that's why he's an agent in WWE today. Because he'll get in there and he'll work till it's done. When I had him in Puerto Rico, well, he would know his match, a week in advance. So he'd start working on it. And by the time Saturday came around, the next TV, he had it all mapped out. So, and he was good. I enjoyed having him around. I kind of miss him too.
What do you think about War Games though? Like the Lethal Lockdown technically is a, I guess in
it's
essence
same
a
deal,
copy.
right?
Yeah, it's a copy of War Games. What do you think about that?
The same deal as I think about damn Six Sides of Steel. It's the same concept. Why would I think differently about this match if it was renamed something else and appeared in a different company? No. What do you think about it?
I don't like War Games, just in general. I wish that it was just that match in the cage. It would have made it feel much more special and would have been much more important if just the match, Lethal Lockdown, aka War Games, was in the cage and not the rest of the card. I would have liked it more.
One reason we had all these gimmick matches, I'm sure, is because we didn't have a lot of stories that we were working on. All our stories were ring stories, not out of the ring stories. See what I mean?
Yep.
Because again, when I booked Puerto Rico, or I would always take the camera out in the middle of the week because we only worked 3 days a week, so I had time. We would go out and we would film things at night on the street or with some of the guys, and we would run that little vignette all through the show, the way WWE used to. And I called it the show within the show. And it worked. People would stay tuned to the very last thing. WWE, I don't know why they got away from that, but they are so predictable now because everybody's watching the clock. And you know, if you're watching SmackDown, you know at 10 o'clock, show's gone. I don't give a crap what's going on. Click, you're gone. If you get caught inside that, outside that 10 o'clock ticker, the show's over. So, but if you could do a little bit of a story through there, I used to like it when somebody is late, they're trying to get to the show and trying to get to the show, and nobody ever thought, wait a minute, how are they getting this camera in that car? What's that cameraman doing in there? No, you didn't think about that. You just enjoyed the story. One of the best one was when the Cadillac or the limousine with Vince blew up.
Yes.
And people literally believed that Vince got killed. And you know how they did that, right?
Little trick photography with the camera work, right?
No, the blow up thing was real. It was live. What they did, they drove the limousine to the building the night before and filmed it. And they filmed Vince wearing the same thing he wore on the show that night, that Monday night. They filmed him getting into the car. Then, of course, they cut and they put the camera in the very same spot. The lighting was the same. And then they showed him getting in the car, and they showed the live shot. Boom! It blew up. But Vince wasn't in it. And when the people came out, they could smell it. Then they could actually see it from part of the parking lot.
Oh, the smoke, yeah.
So they said, damn, is Vince dead? It was a great way to end the show. And I don't know why they got away from doing stuff like that. So, well, I think we kind of covered this. We didn't cover it as in-depth as probably some people wanted. But after you see one, okay, this is a joke from Puerto Rico. Everybody down there is named Juan, almost. One. The old joke is, well, when you've seen one, you've seen them all. Get it?
Yeah.
It's a stupid joke. All right, so let's go to our questions and see if we have any.
Yes. Good old Lisa. Yes. Hi, Dutch. When you decided to retire from the ring, was it a big adjustment not being on the road, plus so many wrestlers being released from WWE? Do you think the territories can make it again?
No, territories can't make it again. Because if territories can make it again, AEW would make it again. I mean, they got a pretty good TV product, and they may do okay if they go on the road, but it's very expensive. See, this wrestling business, I mean, to rent a building and to advertise and to set the ring crew up and do all that stuff. And I remember 20 some odd years ago, Vince McMahon said to rent, and this is not set up, just to rent Madison Square Garden for one night was $130,000. There's no telling what it is now. I bet it's might be close to 400,000 to do that now.
Wow.
That's why your ticket prices are so friggin' high, because they got to pay the rent. Now that 130,000, that's just to rent the building, and they're union. So anybody that works that show, if they're union, they're making like $50 an hour. So you add 20 or 30 more people on that thing. So, and a one night's rental, paying everything, I'm just saying, it could run as close as $750,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Jeez.
So, but no, the territories could not make it because it costs money to produce. And the old time territory shows, they did it on the string. There was no added entrances or anything like that. There was no showbiz to it at all. That's why they had to do story, because without story, they'd have nothing. But no, I don't think the territories could make a comeback. And was it a big adjustment coming off the road? No, but hell no. I love coming off the road. And you know why it sounds glamorous? And somebody said, "Oh, I've been there, and I've been there, and I've been there." Well, I have been those places too. But sometimes you get 3 hours of sleep at night. You got to get up, catch the flight to the next town. It's not as glamorous as it seems. That's on the outside looking in. That's not from the inside looking out. All right, next question.
I think I know the answer to this one, but are you still working with WWE? I think I know the answer.
I do too. It's not no, but hell. No, I hadn't worked with him in a long time. I hadn't worked with him since 2015, maybe 2016, I think. I went there in 2013, worked 2014, worked part of 15 and part of 16, and then I left. My contract was up, and I was hurt, and they knew it, and so we just parted ways, and in friendly ways. And I wished them the best, and they wished me the best too, and I took off.
Tracy Smothers question. Tracy was spoken about yesterday on the channel. How was the handicap match with you and JBL against Tracy? Did you enjoy it? Why did you have a one-off in the ring and then nothing afterwards? Obviously talking about 95, 96 era here.
Talking about me?
Yes. I guess
Why
you
did
and
I have a
JBL had a handicap match against Tracy Smothers, and you didn't really wrestle much after that in the mid-90s.
I was about I was at the end of the road then. I mean, I could still. I mean, I was really backing in backwards for a paycheck. As far as a wrestler, I was like backing in and in there. I don't want to look at you. Because if you're paid to wrestle, you should go and wrestle, and the people that paid for tickets should get a quality show. And it got to the point I just couldn't produce that anymore. Plus, it was starting to hurt, and so that's when when I got out, I was just messing around with it a little bit. To WWE called me and wanted me to manage Swagger, And I went in and kind of auditioned for that job, and they gave it to me that night. And I talked about this before. I went in at 3:30, auditioned at 4, got hired at 5, was on TV at 7:30 that night. That's the quickest anybody has ever got hired in the history of the WWE. And I just went down there for a meeting and ended up with me managing Jack Swagger, which I love my time with Jack. Great guy. Next one.
Did you like working with Tracy though? Tracy Smothers. Did you enjoy?
Oh, I did. Well, I was there when Tracy started. Tracy started. He was from Smith. I don't know if it's Smithfield or Smithville. He's from some small town close to Nashville. And he trained in Steve Kearns' training camp or school or whatever Steve had. And I was there the night he started. And he looked good. He had a lot of enthusiasm. Everybody liked Tracy because he was a likable young man. Loved him. And then I was with him in Smoky Mountain, and then I was with him in WCW. So I was with him in quite a few places. Never had a crossword with him. He was always funny. He always liked talking to me. And the thing that I did with Tracy was my finish because they wanted to get him over. I said, okay, no problem. That's what pros do. Pros go out and say, okay, what do you want? You want the guy over? Okay, leave me alone. And I did it, and I got him over. And then actually, he left that ring more over that night he'd been the whole time. Because he had beat me twice and almost 3 times before JBL come in. And then he won a handicap match because he pinned me again. So he was more over. Then I think JBL went on to have just a little bit of a run with him, not much, but a little bit. So entertaining, though.
Speaking of Jack Swagger, Stan asks, did you enjoy the personal relationship with Swagger? Same politics, same personal beliefs, enjoy riding in the car together. Other than his annoying lisp, maybe I disagree with that one, but Jack Swagger seemed like a solid dude.
Well, I've had people talk about the lisp. I never heard the lisp, to tell you the truth.
Really?
I never heard it. He sounded, maybe it's me, I don't know. But, oh yeah, I loved Jack. Except when he drove, he tried to kill me because he was writing and texting, talking. I would dare him. I said, I dare you to look at the road every 3 minutes. Just look at it. You don't have to adjust or anything. You just look at the road just a little bit and see a red light. But I really got to know Jack, and because that's when you really get to know guys. Not in the dressing room when everybody's around. You get to know guys that, it's like and I didn't drink, Jack didn't either. So we were riding down the road, and come 12 o'clock, you may be getting a little tired, and so you start talking and about this, that, and the other. And this is where the education in wrestling actually begins in the car. Because when I started, I would ride with a bunch of veterans, and I've said this before too, I would sit over there and I would be doing the driving, and I'd try to talk to them, and they say, shut up, we'll tell you when to talk. Okay. But they really liked me, or they wouldn't have had me in the car with them. And then after a beer or two, because I was the designated driver, and then they would start giving me tips. Then they would start watching my matches the night after and the night after that. And then some of them started liking me, started helping me, which is an education. Because if I just hadn't said anything to them and just tried to drive them around, I was just a driver. I wasn't even in the same business. But they liked me, and good thing because they helped me a lot. And it's the little do's and don'ts that are little bitty things, and it's not really noticeable to fans, but it's noticeable to other guys. And that's how other guys know how much experience you have. So if you see a guy go in the ring and his boots aren't laced up and tucked in, well, he's a newbie. And you don't turn your body over to newbies because you get hurt. And back in those days, if you hurt one of those guys and he was out of work, well, he was just out of work. I mean, he didn't get paid. But if you hurt one of them, you didn't have long in that territory because all the other guys that should be working with, they don't want to work with you. Because even though, I mean, you didn't hurt them on purpose. That's not the issue. You hurt them because of lack of experience, which is even more. See, if you hurt them on purpose, it's a fight. Now you can get your ass whipped. But if you didn't, a lot of them didn't get mad because if you didn't do it on purpose, because you didn't intend to do it. But you could do the same thing to one of the other guys, and he's out of work too. So very hard. It was very hard breaking into the business back when I broke in. So.
Another question about Jack Swagger from Dave Cole. Dutch, are you still in touch with Jack Swagger? I think you guys were the best pairing, manager and talent.
Well, he didn't live far from me, but I'm like a recluse. What's that guy that had all that money and he was a recluse? What was his name? You remember now? I'll think that before we finish here.
Is it a wrestler?
No, he's a big rich guy. Nobody. I'll think that before. Maybe.
Elon Musk.
Well, he is too.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you something. Have you been listening to the Amber Heard testimony?
Yes. What do you think about that? Yeah, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Yeah.
Some movie that she was supposed to be in dropped her today. So he's suing her for $50 million, right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe a word she's saying. I just don't. Now, I'm going to have to go look this up after I get off this podcast. But I read today that she recited a verse from a book, word for word, in describing Johnny Depp. And you know how many people are lining up for that trial every day? About 300 people. They can only get like 140 in there. So they have to get like tags to go in. So, but it's interesting, but I know, I was watching her today a little bit, and I wasn't watching her. My daughter was watching, and I was trying to do something else. She was trying to cry, but no tears.
Yeah, I noticed that too, yeah.
So I said, I don't know if I believe. And Johnny Depp just sitting there, he's laughing. See, if she's thinking, to me, and I'm not saying he didn't do this, she said he kicked her in the back. And I'm thinking, well, if it'd been me and somebody kicked me in the back and I'm a female, the next thing he would know, he wouldn't have a kneecap. And I hate to preach violence, but I'd shot his knees or his legs or something. But if he was going to do that to you then, why didn't you leave him then? Because the next time it may not be a kick in the back. It may be a bat to the head. So, and yeah, I know you got to turn some of these things around to fit your narrative, but I don't believe Johnny Depp saw that. I just don't. I just can't. I can see him being an annoying bastard, but that's about it. So, and he's the reason she got all these roles in her movies, I think. I mean, she's not that good an actress, is she?
No.
I don't think so. Anyway, that's enough about that. Next question.
Well, with Swagger, though, do you ever get a reason of why they broke you guys up in the first place?
I had surgery.
Oh, okay. But they were going to keep you together.
Yeah, they're going to keep me together, and I asked for some time off. That's why they found me laying in the hallway, and I said that Rusev had done it. So then I went and had knee surgery, And then it went from bad to worse. Then and I had it on December the 3rd. I still remember the date. December the 3rd, 2014. And I was getting ready to come back to WWE like in March. And it was February the 3rd, 2015. I was the back of my sofa and I was doing stretches like distance runners, I guess. I don't know what I was doing. And my leg collapsed. I was on my left leg, which is what I had my knee surgery on. And I broke my femur in two places.
Scary.
Not one place, but two. And that went from bad to worse. And I almost got sepsis. I almost got that. And it was, if the doctor hadn't have come in when he did, he told me that if I'd have continued laying there, and I'm in a hospital. You know, they're supposed to save you in a hospital. But they noticed I wasn't producing any water. So they called in a urologist, and he said I had an infection in my bladder. And if he hadn't have got in there when he did and shot me up with antibiotics, he said I had about 4 hours before it turned into sepsis, and I would have probably died.
Wow.
You know that, did you?
No, did not.
Well, and I remember going through delirium, going through. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know my daughter. Didn't know anybody. I thought 2 o'clock in the afternoon was. 2 o'clock at night was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was out of it. I had a fever of over 104. So, but that delirium's nothing to mess around with either. So, if you can avoid it, people, don't get delirium. I highly advise against that. I'm on the anti-delirium board now.
Whatever happened to the branding iron that you used on opponents that left the mark? Do you have it, or does JBL have it?
I don't know who has it. I don't know. I don't even know what happened to it. Tell you the truth, I don't know. I really don't. I guess I give it back to him when I left that time. That was in '95. But I don't know what happened to it. I wish I had it.
Me too.
It was so.
What's
the difference between Booker and promoter?
Promoter, yep.
That's easy. A promoter just promotes the show. The Booker does the show. See what I mean? It's like a concert promoter and the band manager. The concert promoter just promotes selling the tickets and gets the advertisement out of where it's going to be, and he does all the media leading up to it. But the band manager or the leader of the band, they come in and actually put the show together. What songs are going to win, who does what, when, where, and how. Big difference there. So once the show starts, the concert promoter's done. All he's got to do is settle up. You know, how much money came in and how much money's got to go out. But if you're going to come back in a week or two or 2 weeks or a month, that's up to your booker, who does something hopefully to get those customers, those paying customers, to come back and see another round of your show. Okay.
Remember before, was it Howard Hughes who you were talking about before?
It was.
The Recluse?
Thank you, Dave. Well, Dave, I guess you're really proud of yourself now since you showed me and John both of them.
Yeah.
It was Howard Hughes who I was talking about. So, and he was a
how
recluse.
Did he know that? How did he know that? Wow.
Oh, Howard Hughes, they made a movie about it.
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying Dave knew that. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah, well, I would have thought about it, but had a little mustache. He was a very reclusive recluse. So, and people like that are usually very, very astute. You like that word, astute?
Very good. Yes.
Uh, and they're very smart. Hence, Elon Musk. You know, Elon Musk has a little bit of Down syndrome in him. You know that, right?
Oh no, I had no idea. Wow.
But it's maybe no, I'm not Down syndrome. He has. Dave, help me out here.
Autism, you
Okay,
mean?
autism. That's what I meant. But on the highest level, I think I said something about that
Really?
because you notice that he does it. You can listen to the way he talks. It's like a monotone,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't get real high, and he doesn't get real low, and he doesn't get perturbed. They say he can, but they're usually very, very intelligent human beings. And I had a friend of mine, uh, Josephus. I think
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
around Tennessee and I remember Josephus, and he was autistic, and he told me one day, and I never would have thought it because I didn't even know. Sometimes people have to tell you things for you to even educate yourself on it. And he told me that he was autistic, but on a high level. And he said it's. I asked him how many levels they got. I guess they got several, but and he was a very very intelligent man too. He wrote music. He was a fantastic photographer. He could manage things. He was almost like just nitpicky, careful about putting things together. And he'd put them and then he'd change them.
OCD. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but he died last summer because he was at his mother's house, and I don't, I'm just talking here, but he went upstairs and just had a crushing heart attack and fell over dead. So good guy. I miss him a lot. Okay, rest in peace, Josephus.
Dutch from Mike Areola. Dutch, if offered, would you manage FTR? And do you like FTR?
Oh, I like them, but I don't know if I would manage them because I think at this period of my career and our ages, I don't think the ages would sync up. I mean, it kind of makes them look dated because I've been around for 400 years. You know what I mean? But if I came in for a one off or two off, it may work. But it wouldn't be like I would be coming in. They would actually be coming to me to see. That would be the story I'd tell. To see the pharaoh or the guru, and just to see how they could improve their work, which I think wouldn't be a bad idea. But for me, walking down to the ring with them and just being there, I don't think would add anything to them. Wouldn't help me, wouldn't help them. So if you're going to do anything, and I mean, I could make money doing it once or twice if they would give me the opportunity, and they wanted that. But I think that if they want to pay me to do something, I want to pay that has a dividend, and I want to leave wrestling in better shape than what I entered it. So for a 2 weeks period, I think just on a two off, I think it could be in better shape if I did that. You know what I thought the other day wouldn't be a bad idea? Since all these old wrestlers are floating around.
Yeah.
What about if you did, I said those out of the studio, out of the arena interviews or whatever, vignettes, that if you had a cameo of a wrestler that you haven't seen in years, like you're riding in a car and you don't see them till the end, and say you get out and you said, "Oh, go tip the driver," and driver rolls his window down, and it's, I'm going to name an old wrestler, Barry Horowitz.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It's Barry Horowitz driving, and nothing's ever said. And he says, thank you, and pats himself on the back, and off he goes. That wouldn't be a bad touch, would it?
No, I like it. I
And
love Barry
then,
Horowitz. Yeah.
and then, so you're a fan of his losing streak.
Yes, because he was a good worker. His matches were
He's
always
a great
solid.
worker.
Yeah.
Did you see his losing streak in Florida?
No. Jack Hart with a
was,
losing streak? Really?
I gave him the gimmick. That's where they stole that from me.
Wow. Okay.
So he was Jack Hart in Florida, and he was really, really a great high school wrestler. And I think he won. I don't know if he won his class, but he did well. So this is what I told him. I said, Jack, listen, I'm going to get you over in reverse. Okay, because he'd do anything. I said, I want you to go out there and I want you to beat the shit out of these guys. Boom, 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 boom. And looked like you're going to win. All of a sudden you slip up on a banana boom and the guy just cradles you or something, 1, 2, 3. And you get up and go, damn. So then he goes out on TV the next week. It's the same thing. He gets beat again. Then on the next week, then Gordon sold him. Now he starts making an issue of it. So, you're 0-2 here so far, Jack. Oh, I know. I'm just in a slump. Don't worry. I'm going to get it done today. And then he'd go in there and he'd mess it up again. So I finally ran his record in the state of Florida to 0 and like 42. 42 state successive losses and no wins. What I did, I got him over in reverse. Now he was getting heat on him, but at the same time he was getting over. People saying, you're a bum, get the hell out of here. And I finally worked an angle with Percy Pringle, which is Paul Bearer, because he wanted Paul Bearer to manage him, and he said he didn't have time. And then Gordon said, well, if you're so good, Mr. Pringle, why don't you manage him? Well, by God, I will, and he'll win. Oh my God. So we went on TV the next week, and boy, Jack was training in the back. Are you ready to go get him, champ? And to the ring he went, and he beat the crap out of the guy, and he threw the guy out, and Percy Pringle was on the mic with Gordon saying, I told you he's going to beat this guy. I said, just don't make it too soon. So he jumped the top rope to the floor, beat him up some more, and threw him back in the ring. He said, now, Percy. He said, no, punish him some more. He rolled back in the ring, beat him up, threw him out the ring. He jumped over the top rope again. He said, now, Percy. Percy said, now, beat him. So he threw him back in the ring, went to jump back over the top rope, hooked his foot on the top rope, fell in, 1, 2, 3. Place exploded. Oh, my God. And Paul Bearer went to the ring, and he started cussing him out. And finally, he grabbed Percy like he was going to hit him, and Percy's guys ran in. And he ran out not to the back where the dressing rooms were. He ran out the side door. And we went outside to interview him, and he said, I tell you what, I may not be able to beat another swinging in the state of Florida, but there's one guy I can beat. I can beat Percy Pringle. So we booked a match. We did well. And he was over. He got over. So right shortly after that, Eddie Graham died. He committed suicide. And by that time, my head wasn't in the game because I really liked Eddie. And I just finished up and I left. And then WWE went back up there because I think the territory fell apart or something happened. And then he gave them the idea. They saw it, and they continued it with them up there.
Yep.
You see how they're just thieving bastards. They're just
that's what the business is all about. Yeah.
They'll steal the meat off your plate. So, all right, next question. Now, I know you didn't ask that question, people, but I just thought I'd throw it in there for the hell of it.
From our buddy Larry, why did Dutch leave the WWF in the first time in the mid-90s?
That's a good question. I don't know, really. They just wanted to. I was managing Bradshaw, and they thought Bradshaw was better off, I guess, on his own. I guess, but who knows what they think? I have no idea. And I'm not even against it. You know, I mean, they could have took me somewhere else. They could have done a lot of things if they'd have wanted to. But then again, what was that word I said earlier, Dr. John? Political association. It's who you politicize with. And that was the days of the clique and all this and that and the other. And I didn't feel like, I didn't go out to the bars. I didn't want to go out and drink the bars drink and knock it down at the bars every night just to keep a job. So pretty soon I went home and WWE went their way, and I worked for them twice, of course. But when you get into business, most of the time you get hired to get fired. That's almost, of course, WWE, they keep people a lot longer. But most of the time, and those people, they'll be gone too before it's over with. And I expect WWE maybe to change hands in the next 3 years anyway. You've heard that, right?
That's a rumor. It's out there. It's a big rumor.
That Peacock are interested in it. NBC is interested in it. So they're worth about $4 billion. So there's no doubt there's money in wrestling. Okay, next question.
Dave says, "What's up, Dutch?" And then threw in, "What are your thoughts on Vince McMahon?"
Well, Vince, I think now he should hang it up, because I think he's at that stage where he's forgetful. But that comes with age. I mean, and I've explained that before, that, you know, you don't have any more room in that brain to store any more information. So, and I think he saw wrestling as one way at one time, but I think that way is dated now, and I think you need to do something else. But brilliant businessman, brutal, ruthless, but a business is what? To make money.
Yep.
And if you're not true to the stockholders and making them money, then you won't be there long either, even though he's the majority stockholder. So they have to do what he says, or he'll take his little ball and go home. Next question.
Ivan Santos always has a good one. Any thoughts on Chicky Star in Puerto Rico? Remember Chicky?
A living legend in Puerto Rico. I mean, people who don't know Kraft and Shinola, they know Chicky Star. I mean, he's just one of those types. He's not big. And I never understood his interviews in Spanish. But the people literally, whether he was a heel or babyface, they still liked him. And I don't know how old he was. I guess he was probably 40 or more or older 20 years ago. But I drew some sellouts for that guy. I mean, not me on the other side, but I booked him in sellouts. And some people, and this is what I'm saying, that business has changed. That's why I kind of like WWE, because they will beat a guy in the middle. And I would too, because I don't think it hurts anybody. I mean, I would take Chicky in these programs, and I would beat him in the middle, and I would work a spot where they got their heat after the match was over. And a lot of times I would send him in the ring, he'd get beat, he'd leave the ring with more heat than he had going in. That's what you got to look for. And one reason I had so many finishes, I always thought a DQ finish, because you don't have nothing else, was a cheap way to go. And I always looked at people that bought tickets as customers, and I thought you were cheating them a little bit. Give them a finish. Not going to hurt anything. Because you can fix it till next week on TV if you want to. You can do anything. All right, next one.
We're at the hour mark. So what do you think? One more question? Is that good?
One more.
David Mathis from Hohenwald, Tennessee. How come Dutch never got a world title run? And will you ever be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Well, I never got a title run because I never challenged for the title. Got a challenge for it first, but you have
Why
to.
Why not, though? Why not?
And well, political. And another thing, they didn't think I was big enough. You know, you got to be Hulk Hogan or Undertaker or Kane or, you know, you got to be a pretty big guy. I wasn't that big. So, and do I think I'll be in the WWE Hall of Fame? I doubt it. Not that I want to be in it anyway. It would, you know, I'd accept it, but I think I'll never be in it. And if they never call me, I never expected it. But good luck to them. Good luck to me. And good luck to you, David. And good night.
All right, Dutch. Good stuff. You want to wrap it up?
Well, let's wrap it up. Anyway, I had something I was going to say. That's what happens to you, John. You get hit on the head a couple 100,000 times. All of a sudden, you. Yep. But I still can't remember. Anyway, we're going to be here every week for a while, folks. And how many people we got in the room, John? 6?
50. Over 50 right now. I'm not even sure because the count keeps going up and down.
Okay. Well, we're going to be here about every Thursday night about this time. And we're going to try to keep it a little more current. And I will review a TNA pay-per-view. And it will be short. And the reason I'm doing this is because we have a gentleman here who helps us, and he loves TNA. And I don't know why, but he does. And Mr. Larry. So, and hello, Mr. Larry. But see, this TNA pay-per-view, it's like World War II. It's gone. And the mindset today is very fast and fleeting. So nobody would remember that pay-per-view other than they had it and just some numbers about it. Nothing makes it stand out. But we were going to say a few things about Andy Kaufman today. Remember, we may have to save that to next week.
All right, yeah, we can save it.
Because I learned, I put up on Twitter today, after all these years, I finally found out what the real story was with Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. I thought I knew the story, but I didn't know the story. That makes sense?
Yes.
And the reason I didn't know the story is, and I've said this, I didn't want to know the story. Right. Because it was such a fascinating angle that was really a non-angle when it started, turned into an angle, that I didn't want to know what they were doing. And it has a little bit of a brushback on it because I didn't know anything because of one thing, and I'll let you know next week. So to that time, folks, this is Dirty Dutch. Dr. John, wishing everybody a good night and stay safe. Oh, yeah, this weekend I'm on 2 Comic Cons, one in New Jersey and one in Albany, New York. I don't know if it's necessarily a Comic Cons, but you can check my Twitter, which is Dirty D Mantell. And I'll put it up here in just a few minutes. So if you're in that area, drop by and see me. We're taking pictures and signing autographs. So I'll see you all next week. Thank you, John.